It's a Monday, and it's the RDL show. Welcome, everybody. Ryan D. Leaf is currently not here on set. He is out in Arizona doing his best Matsuyama impression on the green in Phoenix, looking to perhaps qualify for the next Masters. So myself, Jonathan Rifkind, with the guys, Sky Guasco, Charlie Moss, filling in here for a Monday. We're going to get your week started off right. We got a big show. We're going to chat about where we are in the NBA season. We're 3/4 of the way through the NBA season. We haven't talked a ton about it here on the show, but you know that Charlie and I are we're ready to go, ready to battle, perhaps with some of the seeding with these teams. We're gonna, of course, pay the bills with our usual sponsors, whom you all know and love. We're gonna talk a little baseball, and also, I don't know if you all saw, but go back, put us in the dual box. Go back, look last night at what happened during the Phillies and the Braves baseball game. There was a replay review in the top of the ninth inning, totally changed the course of the game, changed the outcome of the game. We're going to discuss whether or not replay is actually the stipulations surrounding it are actually beneficial to the sport. And then we'll end with Q&A. Send us your questions throughout the show. We're going to try and get to as many throughout as we go along here as possible. But if not, we'll definitely get to them at the end. Hope everybody had a great weekend, right? Ryan typically opens up these shows with some sort of humanistic conversation, a staple of what you need to take away as a human being, aside from all the sports takes on this show. I'm not Ryan. I haven't been to jail. I haven't done all of the different things that he's done in his life to build the perspective that he has, this amazing perspective that helps so many people. But I've had my own fair share of personal trials and tribulations, and I want to open up, before we get to all of today's content, with the idea of moments, right? Life is a series of moments that we string together to create thoughts, to create feelings, to create memories, to create anxieties. I mean, how we take each moment stays with us for the following moments after, and it allows us to perceive the world in whatever way we're influenced by each moment. So this past Friday, I'm driving home from a high school football game about 45 minutes away from where I live, up here in northern San Diego. And as I'm about a block away from my apartment, I'm accelerating out of a light, and I feel a thud, and my car just decides not to go any faster. It just stopped moving. Didn't know what happened. Luckily, I was able to veer off the main road to a side street, pulled over next to a fire lane, and called AAA. It was about midnight on Friday night. Had a basketball call the next morning, 9:30 on Saturday morning. And all I could do was really smile and laugh, right? Because at the end of the day, there's nothing I could have done. My car decided to stop driving. Yes, it was late. Yes, I had an early game the next day. But I wasn't thinking about, oh, crap, how am I going to get to my game? Am I going to be good? All of these, let the mental anxiety drive my thoughts to a place where I was going to get anxious and upset at the situation. Instead, I laughed at it, and I decided that at the end of all of this, it was going to work out. It was simply going to work out because I could only control so much. What are the things that I can control? I can call AAA, get my car towed, go to sleep, wake up on Saturday, and evaluate from there. And then I found out my car's basically totaled. Transmission crapped out. $7,000 to replace a new one. Might as well go buy a new car. $6,000 to replace a new one, whatever the total is. If anybody's looking for a Honda that doesn't drive right now, call the RDL show, okay? Because I may have something for you. So it's like, all right, I'm going to go get a rental on Monday. Wake up early Monday morning, this morning, without a car. I call my friend at Uber and I say, hey, take me down to Mission Valley. I need to get a rental. Walk into the rental shop. I have a debit card. They don't rent to debit cards. They only rent to credit cards. So I woke up early this morning without a car, expecting to get a car. And then I wasn't allowed to rent a car because I don't have a credit card currently. And again, in that moment, I could have chosen to freak out, to be upset, to look at the guy at Hertz and shake my head and put all of the blame on him. But instead, I just laughed and I ordered a Lyft home. And I told the Lyft driver this story, and he said, look, man, you may not know it now, but at the end of all of this, you are going to be put in a better situation than what you thought was going to happen prior to the ensuing events. And my takeaway is the moment comes and goes regardless of how you choose to feel about it. But it's a lot easier to get through each of these moments, these moments that we perceive to be tough, that could be anxiety driving, that could impede that we feel like could impede our progress as human beings throughout the course of X amount of days or months or years, whatever it is that we're going through. But if we choose to just take it as it comes, right? There was nothing I can do. I was only controlling the things that I can control. I still don't have a car, right? I still have to go deal now with the extra bullshit that piled on this morning. And yet, I'm still going to call six broadcasts this week. I'm still going to be on the RDL show, and I'm just going to laugh my way through, because what else is there to do? It's going to work out. And this is sort of the epitome of how each of us goes through our lives, right? Life isn't linear. Life is a dynamic series of bullshit. And how you choose to handle it, that's up to you. But it's going to work out no matter what. So do you choose to handle it with stress and anxiety? Or do you choose to approach it with a smile and just decide that, you know what, there's not much more I can do? And at the end of the day, it brings us back to sports. We can't control sports as fans. Yet we sit there and we get so stressed out about this decision, this play, that play. And we'll talk about replay review as it sort of relates to this conversation later on in the show. But at the end of the day, sports is more enjoyable when you sort of reconcile the fact that you only have so much control as a media member, as a fan. And then you could just enjoy the good things as they come and take the bad things as they come. So that's my open, right? At the end of the day, these moments, the way that you choose to perceive them, they build off of each other. And you can't take yourself too seriously. If I've gotten anything from Ryan up to this point in my almost 2 years working with him, is that if you take yourself too seriously, life is a lot harder. Because in moments like these, when there are trials and there are tribulations, you can get lost in the anxiety, and it makes everything that much harder. So with that, we're going to bring in the guys, Sky and Charlie. Charlie's already, we have a lot of contentious conversations prior to these shows. And typically Ryan does a very good job of allowing the space for Charlie and myself to team up with each other to actually go against Ryan like we did on Friday with the NCAA. But there's no Ryan today to mediate, which means that, hey, I don't know, fists might fly here on the RDL show between Charlie Moss and myself. Luckily, Charlie's over 18. He's barely over 18, so I won't get in trouble.
I'm 21. What are you saying?
Situationally like that happened.
Oh, my God.
Guys, how was your weekend?
Fabulous.
It's good.
Busy.
Can't complain.
Yeah. A lot of golf, a lot of baseball, a lot of draft preview, relaxing. Finally have some sunshine in the Pacific Northwest. So getting outside a little bit. It is a rarity, and I'm not trying to jinx it, but I am filling everyone in.
Vitamin D pills, Sky?
I do.
Yeah, because my 4 years, so I spent 4 years in Oregon. I took my senior year, I took 1,000 milligrams or 1,000, whatever it's not milligrams, whatever the way that they measure vitamin D is, units, I guess. And I was still vitamin D deficient. So just for your sake, I hope that they're working for you.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in California as well. Moved up here. I've been up here 15 years now, but I mean, I've lost like shades of skin tone, no joke, from the lack of like melatonin. It's pretty incredible. But yeah, I'm feeling good, man. It's good energy, and Masters was not what everybody expected down the stretch, but nonetheless, in my opinion, still very exciting.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Let's get to that. I think let's well, Charlie, do you have anything to add before we move on here to the Masters?
I just think it was pretty cool seeing Will Zalatoris, his first year on the Masters, 24 years old, finished second place. Like, that was pretty sweet, I think. Like, he's got a bright future.
Everybody comment. Everybody send us your questions. Interact with us. Like, we're here for you. It's a Monday. It's nice depending on where you are. I'm sure where Charlie is, it's not as nice as here in San Diego. But it sounds like it's nice up there with Sky. Tell us what's going on in your lives, people.
Henry Fabersham, want to give you a shout out. It was your birthday last week. Happy birthday, buddy. Hope the big 2-1's going well for you, and I'll see you when we're at home soon, buddy.
Henry, happy birthday, Henry.
Bars with you. Drink some Athletic Brew.
Of course.
All right, let's talk about these Masters, because it's been a controversial conversation, and it's weird to think about because the ending was pretty outright, right? Hideki Matsuyama wins the Masters, first Japanese player to do it. It was exciting. It was enthralling. I personally loved it because at the end of the day, I'm not a huge golf fan. Okay, like I love going to the green. I love the vibes that protrude from being in a serene environment, enjoying, this beautiful earth that people spend time curating each and every day and growing for our enjoyment. But at the same time, I don't know. I think my ADHD thinks it's too boring, and so I have trouble actually staying locked in. But I had no trouble at all with this one because the storylines, because of Matsuyama kept me in it. And then if you go back and you watch the response of the Japanese broadcasters
Mm-hmm.
and the people from Japan who were following Matsuyama and his story, like, it gives you chills. This is why we love sports, right? We always talk about sports bring us together, and and at the end of the day, like, this is the epitome of that. And Sky, you gave a very good synopsis of that when we talked prior to the show, and I want you to repeat that here live on the RDL show. Why, for you, this whole thing with Hideki Matsuyama was actually a little bit on a grander scale more meaningful than what actually meets the eye at the end of the situation.
Well, I thought it was first of all, congratulations, to somebody who had been in the tournament a few times but had finally won. And yes, some would say limped to the finish line. We can talk about the handful of strokes in the final few holes. We'll get into that in a second. But with him actually wrapping it up and what it did for the country of Japan, and in my opinion, the first thing that I thought about was the power that win had right now. And in my opinion, it was very powerful because it was for an American sport, an American dominated sport, and for an Asian player to win it, first Japanese player to win it in a time like right now in this country, in the United States, for that to happen currently, I got chills immediately. It was less about the tournament. It was less about him winning it. I picked it up in hole 14, I believe. I was kind of in and out all weekend, but I tuned in from hole 14 through the end, which we'll talk about in a second. But with him actually crossing the finish line, getting that final putt, getting the win, the first thing that came to my mind was an Asian player winning an American sport, in my opinion, right now with everything going on in the Asian community in this country. And it was very powerful to me. And that kind of took precedence to me personally while I was watching it over him winning the actual tournament, which of course was very impressive and I applaud him. But unfortunately, my brain immediately went to the other side of that. And I just thought it was such a monumental win for Hideki Matsuyama and the country of Japan.
I want to get to this comment here because I disagree. Morning Joe with Jonah Malkin, friend of the show, I think, until this comment. It says the Masters showed how much the golf world misses Tiger Woods. I so strongly disagree with this statement, and here's why. I think that the story of Matsuyama outpaces the nostalgia for Tiger Woods. And the reason I say that is because, Sky, you just mentioned how this is the first Asian player to win the Masters, a symbol of Japanese golf, somebody that the entire country of Japan had their eyes glued to in America, winning an American sport. How many Japanese young golfers, we'll call them, are now looking at Matsuyama's story and saying, I want to aspire to that. I want to be that. And I think this is going to bring a whole new aspect of diversity to the game of golf, which I think it's time for a tune-up in. So we can sit here and say, oh, well, the game lost its legs till the end. And the golf world misses Tiger Woods. I really don't think so. I think that if you involve yourself in your perspective in the storyline and actually the meaningfulness of the result of Hideki Matsuyama winning the Masters, you're going to find that this actually helps the game of golf on a global scale. And maybe in the minutia of the way that we see the Masters here in the United States, maybe, yeah, it'd be cool to see Tiger Woods win a comeback, for the ages, whatever. But this is beyond that. This is beyond a comeback for the ages. This is a whole new story being written for another culture that is trying to actively, create its own space within the world of golf. And I really appreciate Matsuyama going out there and killing it at the end to win.
I agree. And I think it was Rob, go ahead, Jonathan.
Oh, so Rob agrees with you, Sky. Ryan came out with a statement about the quality of golf coming down the stretch, and he took some heat for it. So that's sort of what we're talking about, right? Like, you could either choose to take the perspective of, oh, it was bad golf at the end, or you could choose to take the perspective of, oh, this is a new light being shed on a situation that may actually be more prevalent now for years to come in the sport.
And I saw Ryan's tweet right away, and of course we'll get his feedback on Wednesday when he's back. So I'm not going to speak for him, and obviously we'll give him his space when he comes back. But I saw his tweet right away, and honestly, I think it's almost maybe a little bit of both. As far as the Masters is concerned, okay, for non-golfers, this is the Super Bowl, the World Series for golf. You expect the best players in the world. You expect the best play in the world in this tournament. Now, as I was talking to the guys before we jumped on, what I realized from that in the final 4 or 5 holes or so was 2 or 3 players who have not been in this space before. They have not been running the leaderboard. They have not been outpacing the field. So they are up here, and now all of a sudden you start kind of looking over your shoulder after the whole weekend of dominating. You're looking over your shoulder like, oh my God, I might pull this off. I might actually pull this off. And then you start kind of, tightening up. You chip one here. Matsuyama puts one in the drink. Scheffler puts one in the drink. Then you start hitting the bunkers. And it was sloppy golf in perspective of what you expect of the Masters. But for the players that were involved and the pressure under everybody in this, I thought it was still, again, entertaining nonetheless, even if it was quote unquote sloppy golf. I thought it was very entertaining still because both players were struggling. It would have been one thing if one player had struggled, hit the water, hit the bunker, missed putts, and the other one had just taken off and won the tournament by 5-6 strokes, right? We've seen that before. We've seen colossal collapses in the Masters and other sports, of course, as well. We didn't see that. We saw the front runner start to lose a little bit, and then Scheffler had a chance, came within 2 strokes, and then ended up backing off because he started pressuring himself as well. And eventually, Matsuyama only wins the tournament by a stroke or 2. So it's really, I thought it was still very entertaining. Yes, maybe sloppy. I see where Ryan's coming from ish, but I do think that the immensity of what it meant for Hideki Matsuyama to win the tournament overshadows any of that. And in regards to Tiger quickly, and we'll get to Charlie, in regards to Tiger, I agree with you, Jonathan, that this particular tournament, okay, let's say Tiger plays. All right, we know what happened and still kind of coming out and whatever. Let's say Tiger plays. Is he actually competing to win the tournament? We know the history, but currently is Tiger actually competing to win the tournament? And if he's not in the top 3, top 5, we're not even talking about him yesterday, probably. Now he's Tiger Woods, you talk about him.
We're perceiving this as a negative because Tiger wasn't able to people are going to take the story however they want the storyline to be. That's the thing about golf, right? It's a very dynamic sport in the way that it's seen. It's not like the NBA, where there's numbers that can back up however you perceive the outcome. In this, yes, there's a results, but how the result was obtained is up to the interpretation of the fan.
I totally agree. So it was in that comment, I also agree with you, Jonathan, that today the golf world is not thinking about Tiger Woods, regardless. And they wouldn't have been if he wasn't in the running to win the tournament, which I don't think he would have been. So Hideki Matsuyama earned the right for us to be talking about him. And even though he quote unquote struggled down the finish, he got the W, and ultimately that's what's in the books. He gets the jacket. Huge, huge win for the country of Japan and golf, I think, in general, hopefully raising more excitement for new cultures all over the world.
Even though he struggled towards the end, I don't think that should take away from how well he played all weekend. I was talking about this with one of my buddies a day ago, but something that's really cool and really unique about golf is, sure, some other players may struggle and help you get to where you are, but at the end of the day, you determine how you win. We see in March Madness, certain teams will get upset and you'll get an easier road. In golf, you have to worry about yourself, and when you win, you feel that sense of pride, that sense of accomplishment. And as you guys were saying, maybe Matsuyama struggled a little bit towards the end, got it in the water. He still had control. He still bounced back. He still stayed composed. On 18, he was up 2 strokes. 2 putted for the win. Bogey didn't matter. He got the win because he stayed composed. So that shouldn't take away from how great he played. You still have to be on your A game.
Isn't it crazy, Charlie, to your point, that it's almost more intriguing to people when there's a headline that says blah, blah, blah has meltdown on the final 3 holes versus blah, blah, blah. May have
Negativity.
struggled a little bit, but played so well that even though they
Yeah.
struggled, they still pulled it. That should be more interesting to you people, because that's the underdog mentality coming on at its best.
Well, even getting away from Matsuyama a little bit, like people are talking about Shoffley's opening hit on, I think, 15 or 16 when he hit it to the water, which really hurt him. But people aren't talking about the 4 birdies he had in a row before that. I think he bogeyed a couple holes before that, but then he had 4 straight birdies, got within 2 strokes of Matsuyama. Sure, he didn't end up getting the dub and fell back a little bit, but he still played out of his mind. And in the past 2 Masters, Shoffley finished second behind DJ, and then now third behind Zalatoris and Matsuyama. So I think Shoffley's definitely on the up and up.
That hit into the water, though, just to put some perspective on that, dropped him from second to third to tied for third. I believe it was $575,000
Yeah,
difference.
I saw the CBS tweet that you retweeted, Sky.
In that shot.
That for the show.
Holy smokes. One more point on this. The negativity in headlines always wins, unfortunately. And I think that's just a problem in our society in general. But, Jonathan, you're totally right. If we sit here and we say, Hideki Matsuyama, melted down but got the win, it's like, why? What happened? Or we talk about Shoffley and what happened to him. It's always less, unfortunately, in headlines about what an incredible accomplishment this is for the individual.
Guy. You know why, as a society, as Americans, whatever, however you want to pigeonhole all the people that that take in more of the negativity than the positivity, is because I think that it's an outlet for people, right? Something bad happens to somebody else who's on a big stage, and it acts now as an outlet for, okay, now I don't need to address the problems in my life because there's somebody else who's having these big problems. And it's almost a way of rationalizing whatever it is said person is going through in their own life, because at the end of the day, I feel like people are more willing to elevate those around them when things are going well for them, right? So it's easier to focus on the good things. But if you perceive things to be going poorly for you, all you want to do is have different outlets to not have to think about your situation. And so it's that negativity that that sort of surrounds these situations that gives people comfort, for better or for worse, for better or for worse. So.
Incredible win, incredible accomplishment, and a huge win for the sport of golf.
Yep.
Yeah.
Massive. All right. That's the most I've ever talked about golf in one place in my entire life. Thank you, Hideki Matsuyama, for giving us a great reason to talk about it. Congratulations on winning the Masters. Looking forward to many more performances on your end. Keep your comments, please, coming, because we're still 35 minutes of the show. It's flying by, but we want to interact with as many and as much of you people, the viewers, as possible. Hope you had a nice weekend. Before we get to all of that, though, Ryan says that he has the best abs in the show. Now, I'm still in working my body to beach mode. We're still 2 months away from summer. I don't need to go out and press all of the San Diego women yet. I still have some time. I am getting the tan on, if you haven't noticed. I've been spending a lot of time playing basketball outside. And by the summer, I promise you there will be a before and after that competes with Mr. Leafs. But for right now, let's talk about how Sunfair has affected him. You see on the bottom, Ryan, I started working with him about 2 years ago. Look just about that, pale. You could see the abs kind of, but there's obviously some work to be done. Introduced to Sunfair, give him a couple of months. You see that middle picture. Look at the elevation. Look at how Ryan was able to transform into what was a pretty good, pretty decent, pretty not fat, but not too skinny fellow, to just this guy with abs, right? The dream body. And then look at the top picture. He gets elevated even more. And how did Ryan make this transformation? Well, he did it with Sunfair. Here's what you need to do. Go to sunfair.com. Once you get there, and go to the enter your information page. And then select Carl Ferro, Ferro, as your sales representative, and select the Ryan D. Leaf Show in the How Did You Hear About Us drop-down. Complete your sign-up, and you'll get 10% off your first order of Sunfair. Ryan always talks about these elegant meals. Like, I typically cook myself like pasta or eggs or something menial. But Sunfair knows how to get it done right. They're going to keep it fresh. They're going to keep it good. And if you want to have an ab like that man up there on the top, like he says, he hasn't actually worked out in almost a year, right? I work out 4 to 5 times a week. And maybe I'm just not eating enough Sunfair. That's probably what it is. So LA, Scottsdale, Phoenix area, they're going to be expanding. So we'll keep you posted on those. Sunfair.com, personalized, delivered, healthy meals. All right. Thank you to Sunfair for that, making me hungry here in the middle of the show, but we'll address that in 34 minutes. Let's move on now to the NBA, I believe, is the next conversation that we have. So Charlie's been licking his chops about this because we've alluded to the NBA a little bit here, right? And we've talked some basketball, mostly college basketball. Tournaments over. We're now in the final stretch of the season in the NBA. And where we stand is very interesting because everybody says, oh, the Lakers are imploding without LeBron and AD. And there's our question of the day. Will anyone beat the Lakers if LeBron, AD, and Drummond are fully healthy? I can't believe Drummond is now like a factor in a team's success, but it's true. I mean, look what happened on, what was it, Saturday against the Nets? The Lakers blew out the Nets. Yes, they didn't have James Harden, and Kyrie and Schroeder got tossed in the second quarter, but they got blown out. You know who wrecked the Nets was Talon Horton Tucker.
Taylor
right?
Horton Tucker, product of Chicago hoops, by the way.
That guy is the definition of a street baller who can also pass a little bit. He had like 22 and 8 or something the other day. Anyways, everybody's like, oh, if the Nets can't get past Montrezl Harrell and Andre Drummond, how are they going to get past Giannis? How are they going to get past Joel Embiid? How are they going to get past, I don't even know who they would win the first round. So those are the two guys. And then how are they going to get past AD and LeBron? I want to answer the question, and then you guys chime in. At first, I didn't think that anybody could beat the Nets fully healthy. But the big man game is real. And Drummond solidifies the middle for the Lakers. Now, everybody says, oh, Blake Griffin comes off the bench. Oh, LaMarcus Aldridge starts. LaMarcus Aldridge is basically washed up. Blake Griffin, if you watch Blake Griffin, his DVOA, his defensive reliance down low is amongst like the bottom quarter of the league. There's 440 NBA players, and Blake Griffin is in the bottom half of the league in defensive paint play. That's really bad. So if you're focused on stopping Anthony Davis down low, guess who's going to be open for Lakers? Schroeder, KCP, Kuzma, Caruso. I mean, hell, if Jared Dudley plays, he'll probably be open in the corner. Like Jared. LeBron, like this team has shooters. So all the Nets have to, when the Nets collapse down low or they double LeBron, guess what? The Lakers are probably going to have a 3 open. Whether or not they make it in a 7-game series, that remains to be seen. But to answer the question of the day on my end, and please contest me if you have a better argument. I'm a Celtic fan, by the way, and it pains me to say it. With the Lakers fully healthy, I don't even think the Nets, if they face a fully healthy 76ers team in a 7-game series, I don't know if they can win that series if Joel Embiid averages 35 and 10 every game.
Yeah, I mean, before I get to the question, I just want to say that I miss the era of basketball when there was pride in players like playing for their teams. Now it's all super teams and
you hate player empowerment and how it's switching over to the NFL now? We could talk about that.
Well, I wasn't even talking about the NFL. I'm just talking about like why does like there's 3 or 4 teams that have a legit chance at winning the NBA title. Then besides that, no one has a chance. Like I'm not gonna lie, I don't think the Celtics.
Give me the 4 teams.
We have the Nets, we have the Lakers, we have the Clippers, and the
76ers and the Nuggets.
All right, 4 or 5 teams. But it's just like besides that, like what good does the playoffs mean then? Like if there's 3 or 4 all-stars in each and every one of those teams.
Because for a team like Phoenix, Charlie, who is playing incredibly well, who beat the Clippers on Thursday, a fully healthy Clippers team, who has DeAndre Ayton. Everybody says that DeAndre Ayton is like, they talk about him like he's a bust. I wish I had a bat.
They do talk about him like he's a bust.
I wish I could go reach into Ryan, like reach up to Hollywood. Like the Elastic Man in X-Men? I wish I could reach up to Hollywood, take the Louisville Slugger, bring it back down and smash the shit out of my computer for this. Because people sit here and they say DeAndre Ayton, the Phoenix Suns center, is a bust. He's not a bust. He's probably the rich man Zubac at worst. Like that's a pretty good guy to have down low, and he's only going to get better. So I think for a team like Phoenix, Charlie, to answer your question, they're minus Chris Paul, they're still very young, but they have an identity and they have a deep bench. And I think that this team can make a legitimate run not to the finals, but maybe to the Western Conference Finals, right? And having the
I-
playoffs, now you take the momentum for the Suns, you bring it to next season, guess what? Now they're a legit competitor. Maybe Utah gets a little bit of momentum. They get to the Western Conference Finals. Now, Utah's not going to be a team that is winning anything this year, but there's momentum.
Wow, bold statement. Bold statement right there. I'm with you,
Dude,
though. I'm completely with you. I'm completely with you.
The Jazz hype train confuses me. It's really fun to watch.
Regular season doesn't mean anything, but something that's going to be interesting to see is Lakers are going to be a 5 or 6 seed. So there's going to be an interesting second round matchup.
If I'm a team, if the Lakers are a 6 seed and they're playing the Nuggets, let's say, or the Jazz,
Nuggets scare me.
First round, I pity any team that has to play the Lakers as an upper seed in the first round, because this is what the Lakers are doing. I guarantee you that if the playoffs started tomorrow, AD and LeBron would be playing right now. There is no reason. Everybody's saying the Lakers are going to be a bubble. I don't think they're going to be a bubble team. I don't. I think they're going to be a 6 seed. I don't think they're going to get lower than a 6 seed, and they know that. So what's the point of, in a shortened season?
As long as they're in the playoff picture, they're fine.
As long as they're in the playoffs.
They can be the 8 seed and they'd be like, all right, we're fine. That's their mentality.
But they don't want to have to waste the play-in tournament. At the end of the day, because of the compressed season, you got to rest your guys, right? LeBron James has played more playoff minutes in NBA history than anybody. So you got to rest your guys. You know that LeBron's playing 35 minutes a game, and AD, who, by the way, AD's injury is actually worrisome from a longevity standpoint, because anytime somebody has an Achilles anything, and Achilles tendonitis isn't something that you go get surgery on or something that just goes away. Like, this sounds like a reoccurring injury. Like, I wonder if he's going to be on a minutes restriction, which puts more of the onus on LeBron. They're resting. Same with why is James Harden out? Why is Kyrie, who's now missing the next game due to personal reasons? Why, right? Why are these guys not playing right now? Because they don't need to, because these teams are in the playoffs. Why not?
It's the regular season. The regular season doesn't matter. It doesn't. It really doesn't.
It does matter. It matters for the guys. It matters for guys like Luka, who's going to lead the NBA in scoring for the next decade, starting in 2 years from now, probably. It matters for rookies like Tyrese Halliburton, who is going to become like a better version of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in Sacramento, right? It matters for teams like the Phoenix Suns, who have a young core but have veteran leadership that are trying to build continuity for the next season.
No, I agree with those points, but I'm saying in terms of teams competing, the regular season doesn't matter. You know what teams are going to be competing when it comes to May and June. You know what teams are going to be in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. You know the 4 or 5 teams that have a shot at making the finals and winning it. So it's just like, well, I'm a big NBA fan. I just think it's somewhat of a disappointing era right now.
It's annoying. Well, okay, here, Andrew Crane, he echoes your point here. What's the point giving the people what they pay for? NBA suffers when the stars aren't playing. LeBron James, Anthony Davis taking all the time off. This is a disadvantage for the Lakers. I think it's a disadvantage for the Laker fans, Andrew. I think as a fan invested in your team, you want to see LeBron James and Anthony Davis out there each and every night, right?
Yeah.
But like I said on Saturday, they blew out the Nets. I hate the Lakers, right?
But again, a blowout against the Nets. No.
Hold on. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
But I had so much fun watching Talon Horton Tucker. And I had so much fun watching the ball movement go through Montrezl Harrell, because the identity of this team changes. And as a fan of basketball, I'm not a fan of the Lakers, but I'm a fan of good basketball. It was just fun to watch. Talon Horton Tucker had this play where he faked left, backspinned right along the baseline and flipped it up and in through really good defense. And like, that's a street ball play. And that's not an easy play to make in the NBA. But as a fan of the game, I freaking love that. And guess what's not going to happen if LeBron and AD are playing basketball? Or not Talon Horton Tucker doing that stuff. So you take the moments as they come. And it's also more impressive, right? So yes, as a fan of a team, it is not doing the fans a service by these players not playing. But the team itself is going to be fine. You're cultivating young mentality, youth mentality. Talon Horton Tucker is going to have a future in this league. Why not give him big reps now against teams that are, James Harden was out, but the rest of the team was fully healthy until Kyrie got tossed. Why not give him reps against the Nets? Because eventually he's going to need to play meaningful minutes. This opens up meaningful minutes for players that are going to be needed in a 7-game series in the postseason. That's why the regular season matters to these teams.
I got 2 points real quickly. First,
the gloves are coming off.
First, Talon Horton Tucker, not Talon. Just want to make that clear. Talon.
But Talon, like I went to my high school newspaper was the Oak Park Talon, and it's spelled the same way. So I disagree with how the phonetics of his name are pronounced.
It's Talon. So I'm gonna ignore what you just said. But my second point,
THT.
Talon Horton Tucker. But my second point is a Lakers blowout against the Nets right now at this point. Like, sure, it's good to see these young players play and get time and compete against each other. It means nothing. The Lakers blowing at the Nets means nothing. When the Nets have KD and I know your point's a little different. But I'm saying when the Nets have KD and Harden and Kyrie, and all these guys playing, they're going to be completely fine. And yes, that wasn't the case the other night, but still.
But that's not my point. My point is in the first round, the Lakers have to play. The Lakers are a 6 seed, let's say, and they have to play. We'll say the Jazz slip down to Nuggets, Clippers, Jazz, whatever order. Let's just in this hypothetical, the Jazz are the 3 seed. In a 7-game series, the Lakers are going to win with AD and LeBron. But you don't want to play AD and LeBron 35 minutes, 40 minutes a game in the opening series of the playoffs. So you have to be comfortable relying on other pieces. And the only way you're going to be comfortable as Frank Vogel, as LeBron James, who's the offensive coordinator of this team, as a fan of the basketball and of the Lakers, the only way you're going to be comfortable in the back end of a 7-game series when the series is on the line and you have to go play in the quarterfinals or the semifinals before your Western Conference final matchup is if you have proven talent out there where you say, okay, you're Frank Vogel, you're pointing at the bench, you guys are going in, you're closing out the game for us. We need to rest LeBron and AD. How are you going to become comfortable with these players? Because you've seen them in big, meaningful minutes produce at a winning level. And that's why it matters. That's why the Nets game matters. It wasn't just because the Lakers blew up the Nets. It was how they did it, the talent that was there and what we saw from those pieces that are going to need to relieve AD and LeBron. Because when AD and LeBron aren't out there, that's when the whole conversation surrounding the Lakers to this point, guys, is without AD and LeBron, there's no chance. But that's not true because they're cultivating pieces that are going to help AD and LeBron when those guys aren't playing on the court. And that's why the regular season matters right now.
All right.
Do you disagree?
I mean, I just think obviously when younger players are going to get more playing time, I think it's beneficial. I'm not denying that. I think it's helping them, but we see without AD and LeBron, the Lakers have dropped to the 5th or 6th seed right now. They
don't care, but that's the point. They don't care. That's fine.
But you're telling me you need people to trust when it comes to late in the games when AD and LeBron aren't playing, and they're not winning. They're not winning though.
But you're getting okay. But they're building to that point, and my point is when they beat the Nets, you're making my point for me. When they built to that point against the Nets, that shows that they are capable of doing it. And if they're capable of doing it in the regular season against a Nets team with KD's playing 38 minutes,
but it's the regular season. That's my point. That's what I'm saying. No, it doesn't matter if they beat the Nets by 20 in the regular season. That doesn't matter. Throw it out the window. Okay, throw it out the window. It doesn't matter.
Charlie, if Charlie had his way, we would have a bottom tier group of teams play a play-in tournament to make the playoffs. We would have no regular season, and we would just start with the playoffs.
I like regular season. I just don't think it matters that much. Just because the Lakers blew out the Nets by 20 on Saturday doesn't mean these players are ready to win a championship without LeBron and AD. I know that's not what you're saying.
Said that they're ready to win.
Hey! I just said I know that's not what you just said. I'm just saying.
So you're making non-starter arguments against me. You're avoiding my point. And
I'm not avoiding your point.
New arguments.
Sky, go to the next thing. I'm done.
Charlie. Oi. All right. Let's move on. I think that we need to drink some non-alcoholic beer.
Absolutely. And you guys got me all worked up here. I'm trying to run the chat, trying to run the banners here, and you guys got me all stressed out a little bit. I need to.
Well, hold on. Actually, quickly before we do Athletic Brew, Sky, you're sort of the deal breaker here, man. There's 3 of us. You're Switzerland.
Are you looking for reaffirmation right now?
We need Switzerland to orchestrate a Geneva Convention about this conversation.
I mean, of course, the regular season matters. It does help the younger players, but I agree with both of yous, which I know you don't want to. I know you don't want to hear
in typical Switzerland fashion.
But the reality is, The playoffs is a different animal. And if the Lakers are at full speed come playoff time, even if those guys are playing 30 minutes a night, they're going to run at least to the Western Conference Finals, I think. And if the Jazz aren't for real and the Suns fall off and the Nuggets aren't ready to go, I don't think the Blazers and Memphis, and I don't think those teams are going to be able to catch up. Yes, obviously the Clippers are in the mix, but they might end up being, if they – what could be weird is if the Lakers stay where they're at in the 5th seed and the Clippers stay around that 4th seed, they could accidentally find each other in the first round. That's what the Lakers don't want.
That's what they got to avoid, because
that's what the Lakers don't want. The Lakers find the net.
I was going to say Rondo on the Clippers. It's a big addition. He knows how to play. He knows how to win. So that's not who they want to see right now.
Sky, before we get to everybody's favorite non-alcoholic beer, we got some love from the chat fantasy fan panel. Who I'm gonna let the previous comment that he made pass by, because I'm already too heated from Charlie. I don't want to respond to that, but I agree with his ensuing 2 comments.
Yeah. So first of all, first comment is that a Garrison Hurst jersey? 100%. My man Garrison Hurst absolutely is. Incredible career, unfortunately cut short by a gruesome ankle injury on Monday Night Football against the New York Football Jets. But love me some Garrison Hurst throwback, absolutely. The other one, big Mike Allstott, absolutely as well. A big OG Buccaneers fan. I think I'm going to have to get one of the creamsicle jerseys there from Mike Allstott. So fantasy panel, we appreciate you tuning in, my man. I know you're active in the chat room here, so we'll get to those as soon as possible. Guys, before we move on, you've been stressing me out here. I'm trying to run the chat. I'm running the banners here. I'm trying to pay attention, let you guys go crazy. So I'm going to have to relax myself here, grab myself an athletic brew here. We like the pop on the air here. Delicious. Microbrew taste, but non-alcoholic. So you are not getting those negative consequences from drinking alcohol. You all know Ryan's spiel. He's allergic to handcuffs. He sticks away from alcohol. I personally choose not to drink alcohol myself, but I do live in the bountiful, plentiful, beautiful Pacific Northwest that has the best hops in the country, arguably the world in some people's arguments. And I love a good craft beer, but I don't want the alcohol content. So I'm able to get myself an athletic brew today. It is the Run Wild IPA. I was very excited to see my local grocery store carrying both brands, the lager and the IPA. So today I went with the Run Wild. Very excited about that, though. Make sure you go to athleticbrew.com and you can get yourself 10% off of your first purchase, and they can mail it out. We know that our big-time listener, big-time supporter, Rob Berger did get an order in as well, so we know that everything is working just fine. So make sure you go to athleticbrew.com and get 10% off of your order for Athletic Brews. And there's always comments of no alcohol, no fun. You know what? 100% disagree. And also, these beers taste delicious. If you like to drink beer for the taste, I promise you, you will not be let down by Athletic Brew.
And sort of the final point here, Sky, the epitome of what you just said about no alcohol, no fun. I mean, our resident frat boy, Charlie Moss, he's all about Athletic Brew. And if he's not drinking, the amazing craft beers that fraternity houses typically provide for their brothers, like Athletic Brew is the next best thing. So there you go.
Excellent. Hit up Athletic Brew, folks. I know you will enjoy it. Guys, before we move on, I know we're getting long in the tier on the NBA, but while we're talking NBA, I want to cover this quickly. Maybe we'll just spend a minute on it and we can move on here. We did have some big news with the Warriors. James Wiseman, number 2 overall pick, could miss the rest of the season with a torn ACL, averaging 11.5 points a game. Not crazy, but definitely a contributor for the Warriors, who obviously without Klay Thompson. Draymond's been struggling. Steph has been trying to, carry the team and putting up 30, 34 a night, but doesn't matter if they can't play defense. The Warriors are on the outside looking in right now, and I have a question for both of you. Will the Warriors in 9th position currently, we still have 30 games left, so there's plenty of time, but will the Warriors in 9th position right now make the playoffs? And another stalwart in the NBA playoffs for the last couple of decades, the Spurs in the 8th seed as well. So both these teams right there on that bubble. Do you think the Warriors, with Wiseman, their big man, potentially out for the rest of the season, do you think the Warriors actually make the playoffs?
I wish I had like a little mini like Hot Wheels tank because that would be very applicable for what the Warriors need to do, which is just tank the rest of the season.
Yeah, this year it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. For a team like this, guess what doesn't matter, Charlie? The regular
season.
The regular season.
Whatever. But shutting Wiseman down is not the worst thing ever. I believe it's his meniscus that he tore.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You're right.
But
I think you wrote in our private chat meniscus, by the way, Charlie. I wasn't sure what that was.
Either way, we're good. Torn meniscus.
But I don't think that's a big deal. The Warriors aren't competing to win a title, so if they make the playoffs, great, good experience for the young players, as Jonathan would allude to. But Wiseman being out, they should probably shut down the team for the season.
I think it's funny. It sucks that Wiseman's out. It sucks that LaMelo's out, because now Anthony Edwards is going to get the Rookie of the Year. And Anthony Edwards is shooting at an incredibly low clip. He's on one of the worst teams in the NBA. And this has been, if he gets Rookie of the Year now, this will be the worst Rookie of the Year since 2006 when Mike Miller won it. I think Tyrese Halliburton should really win it over anybody else that's playing right now up in Sacramento. But he's on Sacramento. So I guess Anthony Edwards, because he's now the most exciting current rookie to keep playing, is going to get the Rookie of the Year. And I think that sucks, because LaMelo should be Rookie of the Year. He only played 41 games, so it's not, or 38 games. It's not going to be enough. But they should just give it to him, because screw this, man. Like, I love James Wiseman. I love Anthony Edwards. He's a fun guy to watch. There's no way in hell he should be Rookie of the Year, though. They should just give it to LaMelo, and we should put an asterisk next to this year and move on. But that's sort of the outcome. Okay, the Spurs really quickly here. The Spurs are going to make the postseason. Greg Popovich always finds a way. DeMar DeRozan's game winner last night proves that. DeJounte Murray is playing at a high rate. I love DeJounte Murray. I think that team is fun to watch. They'll find a way into the postseason. All right, wow, we really got to move on here to MLB. Celtics, how about the Knicks?
East side, really quick. Talk about your Celtics.
Celtics have won 4 of the last 5. Jason Tatum is playing incredibly well. They're starting to finally build an identity. Everybody's been saying, oh, they have to choose between Tatum and Brown. No, they don't. Don't listen to Shaquille O'Neal during Inside the NBA. He's watched like 2 Celtics games this year, okay? Listen to the experts who are actually paying attention to this team. This team just doesn't have an identity. They don't know who they are, and so they get lost in transition. They get lost in half-court sets, but they have 2 great players, a point guard who's finally looking like Kemba Walker again, and Marcus Smart, who's a leader, an enforcer, and a great perimeter defender. The Celtic team is going to be probably a 5th seed when it's all said and done come postseason. I think that they're now just hitting their stride. The Knicks will find a way in. I think the Knicks are too fun to not be in the postseason. It's the East. It's easy. They may even squeak up to 6 or 7 seed. I think the back end of their schedule is pretty easy too. Charlie, do you disagree with anything before we move on to baseball? You'll probably find something to disagree with, but
no,
ambiguous.
You know what? I like what you said. I'll go with it.
I'll take that. That's a win for me. For me.
I'll leave it at that. But
all right, Sky. Let's go 4 minutes baseball. We got one more read. We'll end it with some Q&A. The big box is yours here for baseball.
I'm gonna have Charlie jump in first here. Charlie, why don't you give a shout out quick to Bomb Banana, and then we'll get out of here with baseball.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Bomb Banana, one of our sponsors. Buddy of mine by the name of Johnny Moss and 3 of his college roommates created this hot sauce company. It's seekthespice.com. On my right, you have the original sauce. On the left, you have the spicy. I'm not a spicy guy, so I stick with the original. Really good on the eggs in the morning. It's banana-based hot sauce, not banana flavor, banana-based. Very good, very delicious. It's good on everything you eat it with. I use it a decent amount, so I'm a big fan. But if you order today, go to seekthespice.com and enter the promo code LEAF, LEAF, like a tree, as Ryan always says. You're going to get 10% off your first order. But yeah, Bomb Banana, great hot sauce. Good friend who works there, so definitely check it out.
I love the plugs.
Very much looking forward to some banana hot sauce.
Banana
and all I hear,
banana paste, not banana flavor.
I understand, but all I hear to myself is I'm waiting for the hot sauce to put on my bananas. I have a banana every morning to get the muscles and the potassium rolling, and I'm waiting on that hot sauce. I'm very excited.
One may call that bananaception.
Okay, bananaception. I like it. All right, boys, let's get into some MLB. Let's talk about some baseball here. If anybody's got some baseball comments, jump in here into the comments section and make sure you hit our question of the day as well in the NBA spectrum. All right, y'all. So we have Joe Musgrove throws the first no-hitter in San Diego Padres history. So Jonathan's hometown Padres.
Grossmont High School, baby. He's a local.
He is a local kid. He gets it done, 10 Ks, 112 pitches, and allowed only one base runner on a hit by pitch of Joey Gallo in the fourth. So if he doesn't hit him and he gets him out, we're talking about a perfect game, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very impressive by Joe Musgrove. So the Padres, who are very, very impressive this season. Of course, we all know about Fernando Tatis Jr., but the rest of that lineup, the pitching staff, the defense playing very well in arguably the best division in baseball. We can have that conversation potentially, but they are only behind the Dodgers, the Giants making a good run as well. And a couple of teams, last time we did an MLB check-in, it was right after opening day. So each team has had 8, 9, 10 games, depending on their schedule since then. And a few teams that were struggling when I brought up the first update for opening day. The Red Sox started 0-3. The Dodgers lost opening day after winning the World Series last year. Boston, huge baseball town, obviously the historic Red Sox. The Dodgers in LA, he's a historic franchise.
JD Martinez, 3 home runs yesterday.
Both of those franchises and both of those media outlets were going insane to start the season. All of a sudden, the Dodgers turn it around. They're 8-1 since losing opening night. So they're fine. They have the best record in baseball at 8-2 overall. The Padres are behind them at 7-3. The Giants are 6-3. The San Francisco Giants, who struggled mightily last year, are playing great baseball currently. They're 6-3 in third place in the NL West. 6-3 is good for first place, tied for or sole possession of first place in any other division in Major League Baseball. So the NL West is dominating right now in records. I know it's early. It's 10 games. I get it. Nonetheless, each team looks good. The Rockies look good, and the Arizona Diamondbacks as well. As Jonathan mentioned, JD Martinez, he had his worst season by far last season. Big-time slump. He was hitting under 220 for most of the year. Of course, only 60 games. He had some injuries, some COVID situations last year. But from 2017, 18, and 19, statistically, JD Martinez was the second best hitter in baseball behind only Mike Trout. This dude is legit. He has turned it around. 3 home runs yesterday. He has an extra base hit in all of his 8 games this year so far. He's absolutely blistering the baseball. And we talked about this heavily with the Pac-12. We talked about basketball specifically with the tournament. Everything with UCLA. Baseball is best for the fans. Baseball is best for the fans when we have the Dodgers and the Red Sox competitive. And right now, the Dodgers and the Red Sox have turned it around. They're 2 of the best teams, the hottest teams in baseball. If the Yankees can pick it up as well, the Cubbies can get back on track, and you have those historic franchises being successful in baseball, it is going to propel the sport in a much needed way, I think, for Major League Baseball. So very exciting first week and a half, 2 weeks of baseball, and we're just getting started here for the MLB.
Quick note on my Red Sox. In that first, they got swept by the Orioles to open up the season.
0-3.
They scored 4 points. 4 points. Wow, 4 runs.
4
My brain is the sports is crazy. Okay, 4 runs in those 3 games. In the ensuing 8 games, they scored 38 runs. So you want to talk about a tale of 2 teams? First 3 games to now. I mean, it's pretty insane. The transition there. And also, what's Dodger fans are just annoying, man. Like, Dodger fans, I grew up with y'all. I live with one. Luckily, he's out being an engineer and curing diabetes right now, so he's not in the house, so he doesn't hear me say this, but I tell it to his face. Y'all are just annoying. Like, you sit there and you see what's in front of you, you're like, oh, this is the end-all, be-all. Same with Laker fans. And it's like, no, it's not. There's 160. Baseball's the longest sport. You have so much time. And honestly, it's probably the most dynamic sport. It's of all the sports, it's honestly a little bit more unpredictable than the rest. So at the end of the day, stop being annoying and just go with the flow and see what happens. It's early. So that's my quip on Dodger fans.
I agree. And I'll wrap up here and we'll get Charlie's comments as well. So baseball is 162 games. NBA and NHL are both 82 games. And the NFL, of course, traditionally 16, now 17. So if you go in a slump in baseball, you lose 10 games in a row, you can turn that season around eventually. You lose, you lose 3 or 4 in NFL, your season might be over depending on when you do that. You lose 5, 6, 7, 8 games, or 12 of 15 or something in the MLB or in hockey, you're toast. So for Major League Baseball, especially these franchises that are going to be good unless they have catastrophic injuries, or last year, obviously, COVID situations, the Red Sox are going to be competitive. The Dodgers are going to be competitive. The Yankees are going to be competitive. And that is good for the game of baseball because you're always going to have the up-and-comers. You're going to have the Phillies who are playing well. You're going to have the Padres that we mentioned, and the Giants are continuing to be competitive as well. But one of the historic franchises that is a little bit on the bubble currently right now. Now, Charlie's a White Sox fan, but he's our Chicago insider. How do you feel about the Chi-Town Cubs right now?
Yeah, the Cubbies are struggling. They can't.
Ryan's favorite team.
That's right.
Ryan's favorite team, even though he's not from Chicago and
as the guy with the Michigan.
Hey, I was getting that. It makes fun of me for being a Michigan fan. So whatever. Jack.
He's from Montana. He doesn't have a baseball team.
Doesn't matter. I don't care.
Carry on.
But Jack, if you can hear me, what's wrong with the Cubs right now? They can't score. They can't hit. I think they've scored 3 or less runs in like six out of their 7 or 8 games this season. Yeah, that's all I got for the Cubs right now.
A quick search has got me. The Cubs have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 7th worst run differential in the MLB right now, -11. That is not good. That means they've given up 11 more runs than they have scored overall. Let's see here. The Oakland A's by far.
Smashed.
-32. Detroit Tigers, number 2 at -25. But the Cubbies, man. And again, talk about a competitive, solid division. None of these teams are absolutely dominant necessarily, but the Reds, Brewers, and Cardinals always competitive, and the Cubbies behind them. Now again, a week and a half into the season, we have months and months and months. We have 130 plus games left, 150 plus games left, really. But I'm stoked, man. I'm a baseball guy. Got the juices flowing. It's good.
Sports are in full swing, guys. I mean, basketball. We're at the back 9 of the season. Playoffs right around the corner. It's going to get there before you know it. The NFL draft is coming up. We're going to have complete draft coverage for you on the RDL show. I am trying to work it out with the boys and the boss man to get a live show going for the first round of draft coverage. If everybody's down with it, we'll just do a reaction show. Why not? We'll send it to Ryan's Twitter.
That'd be awesome.
I think it would be a lot of fun. So I think that we're going to put together a little reaction show. Sky at the TCK Kids podcast, TCK podcast, award-winning fantasy football podcast. Head over to his content because as we get near the draft, I'm going to be a special a guest, I guess. I don't know why he would have me on his show, but I appreciate the opportunity. I don't know why either. I hope that Spotify doesn't ban you from their feeds after. And then, go check out TCK. I think Charlie's off doing frat boy stuff, so I don't know.
I'm done with this.
I will tell you why. I bring Jonathan onto my fantasy football podcast every year. This will be year 3 to highlight the NFL draft. I will tell you why. Charlie Conway, the famous hockey player for the Mighty Ducks, once said, "Ducks fly together." Ladies and gentlemen, Ducks fly together. Coach Bombay, Charlie Conway. Everybody knows the rest of the story. Ducks fly together. Rifkin's my boy.
I appreciate you, Sky. I can't believe it's in 3 years, man, since we first made that initial conversation at South Eugene High School. But I guess that's how we'll wrap it up. Still, feel free to answer the question on Twitter. Will anyone beat the Lakers if LeBron, AD, and Drummond are fully healthy? Hashtag RDL show connected to that. But for everybody who made our show possible, big thanks to all of our wonderful viewers. We'll be back on Wednesday. The boss man, Ryan D. Leaf, will be back in the big boy chair. I will be back to demoted to that little side panel on in the upper corner, but I can't complain. We love this show. It doesn't matter who's hosting. It could be from Charlie Moss to Ryan Leaf. We all have a great time. Thank you, everybody, so much for taking the time on your Monday to get your week started off right. My name is Jonathan Rifkin for Sky Guasco. Charlie Moss, this is the RDL show. We'll see you on Wednesday.